Oh, God. Man, you know an optic is real bad when it makes you actually sick and tired. Holy shit, I am truly sick for probably the first time in about 5 years or so. I don't know what the hell brought this on, but my throat feels like it's about sealed shut. My eyes hurt, my skin hurts, I'm on a million uppers right now, slapping some Dayquils because I don't give a shit, we're here to go to work. Because unlike some turbo turds, I have standards. So today we're going to be talking about the Cyelee Bull X Pro, a $300 example as to why it is exactly that sometimes the customer really has no idea what they're asking for, because things like the PT Cruiser and Jorts exist. Now, over the course of my career, both shooting, teaching, and doing basically anything else, and especially once I started using optics on pistols a whole lot, generally speaking, the thought I had is bigger window equal better. A lot of times, it really does help out in just the detection department, because I have greater room for error, especially if my position gets... And over time, I'm fairly certain that I said at some point we're gonna find an optic that's a little bit too large. And these motherfuckers right here decided that they were going to take that and be like, nah, we're gonna get unreasonable. Because Jesus Christ, when I see an optic that fits basically no holsters, we already know that we're in for a bad time, especially when it has shit like drop proof, duty grade, / competition grade, and all the other little buzzwords that people wrap into their garbage, wrapped up in a package that's the size of a single wide, to the point where I actually feel it disturbing the action of a Beretta. Do you know how hard that is? And what's even more up than this is that if you're gonna look at anything on YouTube revolving around Cyelee, everything is around a certain time period ago and everything is a friggin' media sample. Here's the thing. If you're gonna do a product demo, that's cool, take your money, but at the same time, you would better say it's a friggin' product demo, because if you turn loose a review, motherfuckers like me are gonna be able to tell that you're telling on yourself with some nonsense. Look, I was ready to go. I bought 3 1600 round cases of ammunition. We're at 4,800 rounds. We're ready to go here, and I'm ready to turn loose a 6,000 round review on this just like everything else. And wouldn't you know it, the very first day that this thing actually starts to get some hard use, it doesn't just die, it dies spectacularly. Dude, I didn't even have to drop it. So I meant when I said it's not hyperbole. The thumbnail in and of itself says that this is every conceivable mistake in a pistol RDS for $300, and we're gonna go over all of that right now. Oh my god, I feel like such dog water, dude. Alright, well, only one pays the mortgage in this bitch, so here we go. Look, per my previous reviews and that sort of stuff, a whole lot of people decided to infect my little comments section, and at this point, I'm not even convinced that these are real human beings, primarily because how can so many people recommend something that is so obviously trash? When you see marketing for things, especially pistol red dots, or red dots in general, that say things like it's great for an astigmatism when it's an LED projected light. If you have an astigmatism, it doesn't matter if it's laser projected or LED or whatever. Something as simple as one lens someplace can affect the rods and cones of your eyeballs, and that can turn that from clear perception to absolute flaring ass. So when you hear marketing that's like, this is great for my astigmatism, this is a red flag. And especially when we got shit like Bull X Pro, like this is gonna be great because they put Pro on it, that is also what we call a red flag. And look, from the outset, I was getting ready to buy something from these people, and one of you reached out to me and said, stop that order, I'll send this to you. Most likely for 2 reasons. A, you like to laugh, and 2, you really couldn't bear the thought of me spending money on the hottest of garbage, so you're like, here you go, just do it. So, dude sends me brand new, in package, nothing's been opened at all, here the optic is. And immediately, I hate it, but I also have really hated or not been interested in products before, and I've had my take on it completely changed through usage. So after receiving it and being like, wow, I really don't like that, I decided to just shut my brain the f up and do my job. I mounted it up to a gun that wasn't compensated or nothing so that we could get normal cyclic rate, and I decided I was just gonna go ahead and get this thing zeroed and used in whatever capacity. There were a couple of things I had to do first. I had to teach rifle class, so I couldn't do filming and testing and stuff like that first. And then I had my son who's like, hey, I want to go shoot, so I'm not gonna sit here and do anything else. It's like, hey, let's go shoot the thing. And then one day my wife was like, hey, let's go train, so it's like, alright, that's fine, let's go train and that sort of thing. Here, you can take this this Beretta with this single wide trailer on it. Let's get some shooting done, we'll get some reps in, that sort of deal. I'll start covering my heavy volume stuff the next day, no big deal. So this is like a couple of weeks that I have this thing, and all that time that I have to sit here and ponder what's in front of my face, the only thing that I can think of is every single thing about this optic is trying to make anyone with real experience truly hate it. Number one, why is it that you make an optic that requires its own friggin' parking lot and refuse to put any drain holes in the thing? Wouldn't that create like some sort of issue if anyone that uses this thing actually, you know, went outside?
Alright, so I've been standing out here, you can hear the rain. Yeah. There's a whole swimming pool in this optic, which I totally love, by the way. Now, I have an issue with how much swimming pool gets tied up in this thing simply because it doesn't have great drainage. As a for instance, if I have stuff to do and the gun comes up and I gotta do it fast because it's outside the waistband, I'm not even talking about like a duty set of circumstances. I'm just talking about like a match, and it's just raining a whole lot because seasons exist, right? Check this out. Right? So, don't ever said I didn't do nothing for you. It just took a whole bunch of liquid to the face.
Number two, when zeroing the thing, it would be really cool if the adjustment screws or the elevation and windage would actually equate to the math that it says that it equates to. Because I can tell you right now, when I'm getting this thing friggin' zeroed, I had to move this approximately, I have no idea MOA, because that math did not math at all. In addition to this, the first thing that I notice is, again, requires its own friggin' zip code, and once I up the brightness all the way on the thing, I notice that it's significantly dimmer. Well, let me back up, just dimmer than my Holosun 507 comp, which you could say is significantly dimmer than my RMR, RCR, and RMR HD. So this thing that requires its own postal code is somehow dimmer than all of those optics, and the first question that I have is, what the did you do with all this space? And yes, before anyone asks, when the thing arrived with the battery that it had, the first thing I did was I whipped that in the trash and I put a brand new battery in it. Right now we around with lithium Duracells, and I know that somebody's gonna be like, oh, well, you should have tried Energizer. Shut the up, I don't care. Duracell's been working fine for everybody else, it's gonna work fine for this. But this gets weirder somehow, because it's dim and I don't like that, but the very second that the sun is like back there instead of up there, the first thing that I notice is that there's crazy lens refraction. Not that it matters all that much because I'm looking over there rather than at my dot like a dumbass, but at the same time, it is a little bit annoying to have random diagonal red shit painting across that glass, which, again, it begs the question, what the did we do with all this space besides make a grift? And it would just seem that the more that I tried to use this thing or observe it or start to use it, get it zeroed, mess around with it in front of students, my son, my wife, all that stuff, I hadn't really just gone out and used it. There's all this stuff I don't like. Maybe I'm just being a hating ass bitch because none of my preferences are here at all, and I'm annoyed at the fact that I refuse. I am not going to cut any of my holsters to fit this thing in it, so I'm just dealing with that. But look, maybe just shut the f up, maybe just use it, and maybe it'll be fine. So grand total up to this point, before I decide to use it in my first real testing day, we got at max like 500 rounds through it, and the only reason why I have an approximation of that really is I have 14 Beretta magazines at present, and I'm slowly adding to them over time. In addition to this, just to keep my math more or less a little bit easier to track, regardless of to whether or not it's 15 or 18 shot or whatever, I just kind of load them all to 15. It makes the math a little bit easier. And during the rifle class that I taught, I did not go through hardly any ammunition at all, like max 60. Didn't make it through all 14 of my magazines with my son, didn't make it through all 14 of my magazines with my wife. So at max, we got 500, little bit of change, whatever. But none of that matters because I'm gonna have a big training day with it. I'm gonna put like 1,000 rounds through the gun in one day. It's gonna be fine. So realistically speaking, that's when this really starts. So how did it perform? Well, as you can probably figure out, it didn't go well. Now, look, what pisses me off more than anything else isn't the fact that the thing died, because, like, if a singular thing happens, it sort of depends on whether or not I'm gonna keep going with it. In the Vortex Defender example, the dot blinking issue that I had with it seemed like a large problem that a lot of people encounter all at once, so I wasn't gonna give that thing another shot. In this thing's case, it was just a complete menagerie of, I'm not showing up to work today. I just like to talk shit about how great I am. I'm not actually going to do anything that I advertise, because this apparent drop-proof monstrosity will actually wander off zero, because I've seen other people try to test that theory, and immediately the thing shifts about 5+ inches the second that it's dropped. I don't do drop tests, I just shoot the damn guns. And what's is that I don't even have a bunch of footage about this, because the first day where I'm just getting, like, acquainted to what's going on with the optic or the object or the gun or whatever, we don't bring out cameras. I'm just sitting here trying to figure this damn thing out. So it sucks, because this thing is making me change how I do things. That's how ass it is, and that now anything that I review, I'm gonna have to waste an enormous amount of storage space on nonsense, because now I have to film every single round that I fire, which will lead to just an enormous amount of shit that just cut out that I'm not gonna use. Thanks a lot, Cyelee. Because in the middle of this testing, the first thing that happened is that this thing's Zero decided it was going to wander high. And not like sorta high. I mean, like, if I'm shooting the thing at 25 at chest A zone on a USPSA piece of cardboard, it decided it was gonna climb up towards the friggin' jaw/nose of the dude. And if you were hoping that I was going to approve of Cyelee at this point, this is the point in time where you should be like, oh dear. And look, I have a lot of experience with mounting optics to things, and just to make sure that my due diligence did, I'm sitting here and I'm wiggling this friggin' optic, making sure that everything's tight. In fact, it is. And I make the corrections with like a little twist, because it's not like I can trust the fucking math on this thing, because you can't. And in fairly short order, it decides to off north again. This time slightly left, which is awesome. By the way, I got to experience something great, because it was raining sideways all day long, and I got to experience firsthand that when you make the Superdome without any drain holes in it, the first thing that's gonna happen is you're gonna get a shake awake feature, only it's for your face. But that's a small thing. It happens with other optics. That's not a big deal. Thing is, though, is that you could probably cut down on a bunch of that crap if you put drain holes in your ass optic. That said, I'm fairly certain that if they added drain holes to the anywhere on this, it would just compromise the already useless electronics protection package / structure of the whole thing, because these big useless ass fence posts are here to protect the lens package, when, hilariously speaking, when something makes an impact on the damn thing, none of this actually matters if your electronics protection package or if the detents on your turrets are trash. So if you make all of this effort to provide little speed bumps for your lens, none of that actually matters if the rest of the optic is designed like dog water. But oh no, it's not just the wandering zero part. During a particular draw, I decided I was gonna skin the gun out, and just nothing was there. I proceed to stop everything I was doing, look at it real hard, be like, where the hell did this thing actually go? And then it starts to flicker back at me, intermittently, because reasons. To the point where I was able to bring this thing back to the table and just sit there and watch it fucking off on me. So this isn't just like a particular thing that could be a one-off or a warranty issue or whatever. This thing is globally failing on me. It's not just the Zero turrets, it's not just the fact that all of the features about it are not really features or nonsense, it's also the electronics protection package that doesn't exist. Because you could say that your weatherproofing and all that stuff is legit, and that's fine, but the second that you start to deal with recoil, you know, the primary thing that you should be protecting the electronics package against, and then it just dies, that might be what we call a problem. By the way, the fun fact on this whole thing, if you've been keeping track of total round count, or at least estimated, I got no further than 800 rounds on this particular rainy day. Initially, I thought it was less than that, but having gone back and looked at it, we've arrived here. But the thing is that I have an optic that is out of commission after advertising all this shit in under 2,000 rounds, and I didn't even really use the damn thing hard yet. This is just handshake phase type stuff. This isn't me going through high volumes of fire with complex drills where the gun is perpetually hot. This is just me getting some reps in and trying to figure out how to make this thing work. And guess what? It doesn't work. So, surprise to literally no one on the planet Earth, this thing sucks ass, and of course I'm not gonna recommend it to anybody on the planet. Because it would also seem that tons of other people have this impression about their Cyelee optics. You know, real people that actually shoot the things. But of course, we're gonna get a lot of the faithful in the comment section who are like, oh, well, mine's been fine. Look, this happens without fail. Something is verified to be basically garbage, and then you start looking for people that actually shoot their guns, and of course, they have at least one repair or warranty story, or there was one that was dead on arrival the second it showed up, or whatever. It starts to highlight some consistency problems, electronics protection issues, overall design problems, things like that, and there's gonna be at least 100 people after that have some sort of brand loyalty over something that they don't even really use all that well. Because look, I'ma just tell you right now, some guy that pops in here and tells me that he's fired 3,000 rounds with one of these Cyelee optics on board the gun over the course of 2 years is not going to impress me. And frankly, it shouldn't be used as actual evidence as to whether or not this thing does well, because literally anything will survive under those metrics. I am not just here to do the haha talky head man videos for a laugh or a cry or a whatever. I do this sort of nonsense and I go through this frustrating bullshit because if enough people that are doing a product demo and then labeling it as a review, I am eventually going to have to deal with this shit and then undo its problems in class when those people eventually show up. And frankly, it doesn't matter what the application is. It could be self-defense, it could be competitions or whatever. The warranty could be great, but are you gonna win that match if your dot just goes out in the middle of the stage and now any gap that you were closing while figuring out that your dot doesn't work is suddenly vanished? Never mind the much worse possible implications from people that are just trying to be cheap bastards and trying to find excuses to not buy proven optics. I have been getting told for weeks now that Cyelee is better than Holosun, and there are some people that are delusional enough to sit there and try and tell me that it's comparable to Trigicon. And let's be 110% clear. Yes, everything breaks. Yes, everything has a failure state. Yes, everything has a service life. But no, your Cyelee does not compare to any of that. Not just track record, but in design, electronics package, none of that shit. And they have absolutely nowhere close to the authority, and they have absolutely no right to be saying anything revolving anywhere near the orbit of competition or duty-ready anything, especially in this piece of shit the size of a damn single-wide trailer. So no! Don't waste your time on this. Don't waste your time on it ever. And if you found this entertaining, or at least my pain, something that you could giggle at and be like, haha, look at Asian man, he's mad, that's cool. I also understand that as well. If you would like to come out and train with us, we have classes scheduled out to December, and we're in the process of adding more. If you'd like to support the channel, one of the best ways to do that is to jump into the Patreon link that I have below. If you want to get something out of it, $41 a month gets you as much open enrollment training as you would like, unless it's something like a private class for pretty obvious reasons, or a logistically challenging class like a soft skin vehicle class for, again, pretty obvious reasons. If you'd like to check out our social media stuff, links for that, including our new Discord, are in the description below as well. If you'd like to check out the nerd stuff that I be doing on the gaming channel that I started for funsies, you can do that also. And if you don't want to do any of that, but you still want to support us in the cheapest way possible, drop a like, drop a subscribe, throw a comment in the comment section, and remember guys, a regular guy's firearm is the last defense against tyranny. Be easy. I am sick as a dog. I am struggling just to speak. I'm so glad this is over.